All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Berserk, episode 12.
Ooh. All right.
Wow.
So
I'm worried still because we have Guts and Casca separated from the Band of the Hawk, the army and everything. Mm-hmm. There is a battle going on nearby. Yep. Mm-hmm. Casca is not doing well. Mm-hmm. And I am glad that Guts is, in his own interesting way, being honorable of trying to keep her safe and well, even though he stripped her naked. So I guess we'll just see how this whole thing resolves. Hopefully well. I want to see them brought back into the Band of the Hawk and have everyone just be like, oh, we're so glad you're okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be... It's going to be interesting, yeah. So without further ado, let's get into this. But everyone else seems to have a more unique and identifiable quirk about them.
Corcus is a jerk. Griffith is smooth.
Pippin is kind of the big softy. The big softy that's quiet but like huge, you know?
Right.
Rickert is the kid who's hopeful and he's got still kind of that hero worship thing going on, you know? Casca's extremely, complicated.
Tell me what you want.
I don't know why you're afraid. Together, it's better when we're together. Oh, Casca backstory, Casca flashback. Nani? Yo. And 3, 2, what? No, okay, she's still out of it. Okay. Yeah. She's like, oh. Can't blame me. Guts is like, come on, don't get mad at me. Yeah. Yep. Oh! いい加減にしねえか。恩を着せるつもりはねえけど、こっちは死ぬ思いで甲冑つけたてめえを。これが礼の一言どころか、ナイフ投げつけるだよ。ぶん殴って顎外してるところだぜ。
Don't do that.
Yeah. おい。
私だって好きで女に生まれたわけじゃない。
おい。悪かった。この野郎。やっぱとんでもねえ女だ。ちったおとなしくしやがれ。
離せ。
He's not gonna do anything to you. You're okay, Casca. I know why she's terrified, though. Like, this is a very scary situation for her to be in. Yeah, I can see you. Yeah. Wait, was that just internal monologue right there?
I think so.
This business. Good grief. It's not a business, it's like... She's gonna tell you. Yeah, Griffith. He's why. Good backstory. Yep. Yeah. Awesome. Jeez. No one has a good backstory in this world.
国境沿いの村だったせいで、私たちはその都度家や畑が踏み荒らされるのを
So she wanted to do something about this. Yeah. I'm guessing she was probably thinking, well, this is our lot in life. And then Griffith is the kind of person that comes by and goes, you can do something about this. Crap. Please, no. No. I know where this is going. However, am I right? No. Yeah, thank you, show. Please don't. Oh. Okay, good. Run. Yeah. Oh, well. Oh, and then Griffith saved her. Yes. Whoa.
現実味の薄い
Yeah, the moment would be unreal. No wonder she's in love with
一人の
him.
娘は神様が
A
天使
literal
を
white
使わされた
knight.
Yeah.
そんな風に思えた。
その剣を取れ。
Oh, and kill him? Dang, Griffith. What the heck?
恐ろしかった。自分から剣を突き刺したのか、相手が勢い余って剣に倒れ込んだのか。
Whoa.
とにかく私は人を殺したんだ。その人は大きくゆっくりとうなずいただけ。彼の差し伸べてくれた本当の救いの手だったんだ。
グリフス、向こう片付いたぜ。
私どうすれば。
好きにすればいい。
私も一緒に連れてって。剣の扱いを覚えろというのなら覚えます。
死ぬかもしれないよ。好きにすればいい。もう戦い方は知っているだろう。
Wow.
あなたがくれたんです。戦い、
Yeah.
勝ち取る生き方、
Right.
私はグリフィスを崇拝していた。
Like the idea in that day and age to
今で
tell
も
her,
長い夢
do
を見
whatever you
続けてい
want.
るような気がする。グリフィスは奇跡そのものだった。どうに
The
か
more and
生き
more
る
you
人として
think about it, it
生
is
きるように
kind
な
of
った
an
高値
odd
では
stroke of
ある地方
fate,
貴
if
族
you
の領
will,
地紛争に
that
参戦したんだのは有名な男で
Griffith
かなり
has
の資産家だった。
done so well
し
for
かし
himself.
奴の本当の風評は少年ばかりを表向き従者として見つかった。
Jeez. All right, this is the episode of
うつろで
degenerates,
怯えるような
basically.
目をした子供たち。何度目かの小競り合いの後、半年ぐらい前に鷹の段に入団した兵卒見習いの少年だった。グリフィス。
よっぽど騎士に憧れてたんだろうな。こいつのことはよく覚えている。
Yeah, he was one of them.
まるで物語の主人公でも見るよ。夢を見ながら行けたのだろうか。
The red, like the
Uh-huh.
Behelit.
俺の
Yep.
夢なのかもしれない。
The red of the Behelit
あ
encapsulating
んな
both
グ
the
リフィ
boy
スを
and Griffith.
私は見たことがなかった。でもその時からさ、少しずつ違って見え始めたの。城に帰還して
What? Oh, crap. Holy crap. Yo. Oh, and he's like cleaning it off, like.
キャスカ、一緒にどうだ。気持ちいいぞ。汚らわしいか。
そんな、なぜ夕べはあそこに。そうよね、私の勘違いだよね。夕べのあれは軍議か何かで、それで。
勘違いじゃない。
Oh, I can't
どう
wait
して
to
あんなやつと。
hear the reason.
金だよ。
For money.
軍隊というものは金を
There's
食
the
う。
Behelit.
装備、食料、どれもタダじゃない。
Jeez.
ましてや
Yep.
鷹の段はこれからまだまだ大きくしなければならない。そのためにも必要なのさ。莫大な軍資金が。あの老人はどうやらこの俺がお気に召したようだし、利害が一致したってことさ。
だからって、
Jeez.
そんな。今
He
のまま
would
ではダメ
really
な
do
の。
anything for his
このまま勝ち
dream.
続けることができれば、いつか軍資金だって。
戦場に出るということはそれだけ多くの部下を失うということだ。
Whoa. So his rationale is I can save lives by bearing the burden that other people don't have to do.
俺はね、キャスカ、俺の采配で命を落とした仲間たち、何ら責任を感じてはいい。
Dang.
なぜなら、それはあいつらが自分自身で選んだ戦いなのだから。
Holy
俺は
crap.
そうであるように。でももしあいつらのため、死者たちのために何かしてやれることがあるとしたら、それは勝つこと。あいつらが命を懸けてまでしがみついた俺の夢を成し遂げるために勝ち続けることだ。
Oh my gosh.
勝つことでしか実現できない。所詮血塗られた夢だ。いや、後ろめたさはない。
Holy crap, dude.
だが、自分だけ汚れずにいられるほど、俺の夢はたやすく手に入るものではないんだ。
Oh my gosh.
やめて、もうやめて。
大丈夫、何でもないさ。
私の肩に手を置いたグリフィスはもういつものグリフィスだった。
Yep.
無償。人がとうの昔に捨ててしまったことをグリフィスは実現すべき夢として選んだ夢が純粋で途方もなく背負ったものも計り知れ。
No, he chooses to
大きなも
carry.
のを手にしようとす
He
る者
doesn't
は
like to give the
それ
burden
だけ
to
人
other
より
people.
強かったんじゃない。
No,
グリ
he's
フィス
not.
は強くなければならないんだ。あの人の隣にいたい。あの人が自分の夢に全てを捧げるなら、あの人の夢が戦い、私はあの人の剣になりたい。 あの人の夢を成し遂げるために欠かせないものになりたい。
But that's not her dream, that's his dream. That's kind of the thing that he doesn't consider for friends.
覚えているか、丘の上でグリフィスがお前にかけた言葉。
お前が欲しいんだ。
あんなことを決して口にする人じゃない。
He didn't tell her that he wants her to
私は
join.
気に食わなかった。いともたやすくそう言わせたお前が、グリフィスは鷹の段に必要な人間として
Makes sense.
お前を欲しがってるのだと。グリフィスがお前のこととなるといつも衝動的になる。グリフィスはお前を信頼している。なのにお前は後先を考えずに。私が許せないのはお前のその身勝手さがグリフィスを殺しかけたという事実だ。お前がどこの戦場でくたばろうと知ったことじゃない。そのために鷹の段を、グリフィスの夢を道連れにすることは
Foreshadowing. Foreshadowing.
グリフィスをそんな風に変えてしまったお前がどうしてお前でなければならないんだ。
Holy crap.
何を。
しかしよ、もうくたばってんじゃねえか。あの崖から落ちたんじゃよ。この急流だ。死体が流されてることもあり。
Go clean up that armor you threw out there, remember?
Yeah.
おい、熱冷ましだ。飲んどけ。のんびりしてる暇はねえ。
Yeah.
日が暮れ次第ここを出るぞ。
Holy crap! Oh! Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah.
As far as info dumps go, it's really hard to keep them entertaining. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that this show did properly was it told us about the weight of the dynamic between specific characters.
Right.
So that when this episode comes, it's giving us context as to why the weight exists.
Yep. So we're expecting it. We're ready for it. We're like, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're kind of willing to give it a little bit of leeway, even though it's primarily a pseudo recap. If you will. It's one of the most important episodes we've watched thus far in terms of overall story, like gravitas.
They spend a lot of time on it. Yeah.
Yes, it's extremely dense in that it doesn't really advance anything.
No, this was a dedicated backstory episode right here.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
We have Casca backstory.
We have Casca backstory. It gave us Griffith backstory. It gave us context for why Casca
hates Guts so much.
Guts not
Hates
only
Guts'
so much,
guts.
but why she worships Griffith.
Exactly.
And why Griffith will never respond positively to Casca.
To her affections, yeah.
It's the most tragic thing we've seen thus far.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Casca's backstory, oh my gosh, it's horrible. The really messed up thing is, because of the way this world was set up, I almost expected this.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. What's really tragic about her story is not really as much, this may sound a little bit insensitive, but yes, it's horrible that she was raped. That's absolutely horrible.
Well, and it might not have, the guy might not have been successful or whatever.
No, you're right. Sorry. That he assaulted her for sexual reasons. Yes. And her whole upbringing and stuff is horrible and stuff as well. Yes, she wasn't actually. But the point is that her affection towards Griffith is because of what he's done for her in giving her a purpose and a dream.
Right.
Not her own, though.
Right.
In showing her that she can choose whatever she wants.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is that she chose to serve his dream.
Right.
Because she thinks that serving his dream means serving Griffith. Now, does Casca know, because she might have overheard the fountain scene with the princess, that her serving his dream doesn't actually make her someone that he really cares about, like a true friend?
Well,
in that she's his greatest servant.
Right.
But she is not actually as valuable to him as Guts, because Guts has something else. In this manner, it makes Griffith out to be someone that's extremely, extremely complex. But one of the things that points towards in particular is that Griffith kind of looks at everyone like a resource.
Okay.
Think about it this way. Like, When you play with those like strategy games and stuff,
he's playing an RTS.
Yes, he's playing an RTS. He's looking out for unique resources. He's like, I already have a great stockpile source of wood, for instance.
Sure.
Casca brings in a very large stockpile of wood on a consistent basis. But I would rather have something unique and something that I'm not going to just be able to get more of by getting 150 regular people for the one Casca. He's like, yes, Casca is worth 100 soldiers or something. Yes, that's fantastic. But Guts, I can't directly connect his value from soldiers because Guts brings in something unique.
Right.
And I don't think Griffith, or even us as the audience, are supposed to know exactly what that is. It's more of that Griffith can like sense these kinds of things.
Right. The idea that he knows that he can have Guts do something and it'll get done, even if there's, complications.
Right. Now that's the thing where I think I can't really deduce what it is, but I can tell that with Griffith, he's a character that has very, very great hypocrisy within him. Like, it's a huge thing. It's gotta be, right? Like, he is the White Knight.
He is quite the walking contradiction.
With almost, he's a walking contradiction, which makes him extremely interesting. But okay, let's recap over the recap. Casca was rightly so very defensive about Guts being in that environment with her.
Because the idea is that in this kind of day and age and stuff where at best women are treated as second-class citizens, that's a reality that she's probably had to live with.
It doesn't have nothing to do with even that. I was thinking about kind of the whole thing of men versus women and stuff. She is a low-born woman and with no one around her to protect her. There is no one that could stop Guts from doing whatever he wanted to do. Casca probably would give him a good fight and stuff, but ultimately Guts is just stronger. I think that's more of the point, is that women at this time were beholden to the men in general, and in every tier of society. While a higher born woman would be, have more clout than a lower born woman, and a higher born woman have more clout than a lower born man. It's not on the same tier with it. But the point is that Casca's, she has been assaulted in the past. At least once that we know of. And she's like, I'm not having that happen again, especially by this guy that I hate. So, you get the away from me, like chucking a knife at him. Now, nothing about that is like unexpected. But one of the things that was extremely like kind of mature about this was that you've noticed in a lot of really dumb like kind of shonen stuff, there's or even kind of the joke slice of life kind of comedy things. The girls are always like, don't look at me, baka, all this stuff. She's like, I don't like there's a point in this where she's like, don't look, because I'm like changing and stuff. But at that point she's in full defense mode. It's basically when a human being gets so scared that they're not at all beholden to thinking about whether or not people can see, their fully exposed body and stuff. It's basically where you go into a full like animal mode. And I really feel for Casca, because it's I've never experienced anything like that. Never. But I can try to imagine that, and that's just a really scary place to be in. She's had a really rough day. Guts is like, hey, we're good here. What? We don't have any problems. Like, what's your deal? He's dumb. He's not cluing in. But once she starts talking, you feel all this like hurt, all this emotion, all this pride also as well, in that she feels, responsible in a lot of ways for Guts, I think, because she's, she's important in Griffith's, Band of the Hawk and stuff.
Yeah, she feels replaced.
Well, she feels replaced, but I think also her pride is somewhat wounded in a lot of ways because of Guts' presence. And now she gets to beat it into his thick skull of why she just is so angry that this is happening. But the thing is she doesn't really hate Guts. Like, you can tell that she is she's hurt by the fact that she's in this reality. She can't change it. She knows that.
Exactly. Kind of like how she knows that, like, say, the whole thing with Griffith and her will never really work out because, you know, the smart thing for Griffith to do would be to, you know, marry into nobility or whatever like that. And she is not nobility, you know.
I don't even think she's at that place now where she wants to be married to Griffith. I think she just wants to, like, have Griffith love her. Like, have him, like, actually, you know, connect with her on a level like he seems to be with Guts. Like, she is that devoted to Griffith that Griffith just deciding to choose Guts just rattled her entire universe.
Why
she's
does
like,
he value him
wait
so
a minute.
much when I've been doing all this for him?
Right. She's like, this is where Griffith was at. Guts showed up, and now suddenly, instead of being perpendicular, he's parallel. Like, what? His entire existence changed. What are you? What is you? What do you have that I don't? What? Because she wants whatever that is so that she can be close to Griffith. And it's not, I think, of any kind of, like, status thing where she wants to be married to him or she wants to, you know, like, have sex with him, bear his kids, or anything like that. I think she just wants to, be equals. She wants to be with Griffith. She wants to be connected with him. And I think that's the thing. Griffith revealed in this episode something very chilling, is that he really feels alone. Like, Griffith doesn't let other people in. Like, when you see someone do this, like I want to give an opportunity for you to discuss here, because I'm curious what you can insight from this, because you don't have to worry about giving, like, spoilers or anything. This is stuff I'm cluing into as well. Griffith in this state, when he was in the river right there, that's him being, like, vulnerable, right? Yeah.
So, and he very quickly made himself go out of it because he very much has to be the White Knight. He has to be the
So in that moment, how would you rate Griffith's, like, selfishness, like, loneliness coefficient? Like, because I feel like there's a direct correlation, and he just doesn't really feel like he can do anything about that.
Right. Well, I feel like the Griffith's ambition could be easily conflated with selfishness and like where's the line between them kind of a thing. And with and the other thing is that with that point that Griffith was at, he was at a very low point, right?
Well, he was at a very kind of, like, I feel like he was feeling shame. Like, he was, like, one of the most crippling human negative states to be in is one of shame. When you feel shame, you begin to embody shame. It's a really, really twisted thing. A lot of human existence has been controlling masses through shame. And I think that Griffith, in this moment, he did something that violated some internal standard that he had, because he was like, I have to do whatever it takes to make sure that kids like this don't have to be a part of the war effort. I want to have the money to be able to hire real armies. I want to do this quicker.
Properly equip them and stuff.
Right, so but he's feeling the urgency.
Right.
So he essentially, like, sells himself to this nobleman, and it's like, that's something that I don't think was on his grid prior to this, as, like, this is something I'm going to have to do. He hadn't resolved that in his mind.
Right, but so he felt shaken when he was, like, saw the dead kid and felt so guilty about it. He's like, I have to stop this.
But the thing is that what he felt when he saw the kid, I think, was shame.
Gotcha.
I think then he felt shame there, so he shamed himself, went and essentially, like, sold his body to a nobleman, went out into the river, the act of cleaning himself. When you feel shame, you feel dirty, you feel like you feel broken, or something. So he's going and doing the physical act of cleaning himself.
Right. And the other thing that I really liked about that whole scene is that Casca sees him, and he could have just let Casca walk away, you know?
Sure.
But
he
he's
was
like,
lonely.
No, but he specifically, was like, hey, Casca, you know. and he started talking to her about
I
it.
think also we need to remember Griffith is very human. Like, they talked a lot in this episode about how Griffith is the miracle. Like, he's the one that
seems divine almost.
Yes, he seems to be an angel of God, basically.
Right.
Well, there are no angels of God. The only thing that we've seen in this show that would, hint towards any kind of divine anything is on the negative side of things. So, at the very least, Griffith is not anything like that. Now, we can get into that whole discussion of the whole hand of God, evil, manipulation, fate, and Nosferatu Zod and all that. But no, Griffith, I think in that moment was, yes, like you said, at his lowest point because of shame and because of loneliness.
Right.
I think this is all brought upon, though, by his selfishness. These are all very good, unique
absolutely.
Character flaws.
Right, because since he basically holds himself to such a different standard than he holds other people to, and probably than other people hold themselves to, he basically sees himself as being distanced from everyone around him, right? Even though there's tons of people that would, be willing to help him out with, things like this, and Casca was right there. She gave him that big hug and everything, and but there's still the idea that he feels, oh no, I have to, bear this burden and everything myself.
The minute he started tearing himself, guys. Okay, let me. Okay, I'm trying not to sound like I know everything here, but when. In terms of being condescending and stuff, because when someone goes to self-harm, okay, I've never self-harmed or anything like that, but there's moments where I've had depression and stuff where it leads you to the closest thing to that. And when you're at that low of a place and you turn to self-harm, you've essentially hit a moment of hypocrisy in your being where you need to survive. You can't end this whole thing. Okay. I'm talking about some dark stuff here, but you can't end this whole thing. But you have to receive the justice of your actions.
Gotcha.
So this is the ultimate level of shame, where you feel so much self-hatred that you can't actually go to the horrible side of things and just end this, because he has a dream.
Right, exactly.
But he has to selfishly bear the burden of his own shame, and he turns to... Okay, this is the kind of thing, though, sadly, that makes me go, well, crap. Now that we know this, I know exactly why, in a lot of ways, Griffith and Guts are going to have some kind of a falling out.
Oh, yeah?
Because it doesn't matter really as much what Guts is going to do. Guts is going to do something. Guts is going to do something. And Griffith is going to bear the burden himself. And he's going to make choices that are going to just... he's going to make some really stupid he's going to ruin himself before he ruins everyone else. But the thing is that Griffith, if he's willing to, become king, he becomes king. He kicks Guts out of the Band of the Hawk, but he makes decisions that are for the dream, but completely tear himself apart, which are the kind of things that would not only separate Guts from him, but Casca won't be able to even stop him. She'll just break, because she'll be looking at the man that was her angel, was her savior, her god, even, if you will, demigod or whatever. And if she's not strong enough by that point, if she doesn't have something else to believe in, it'll just break her. And I'm really I can feel this really just palpable, just disgusting hypocrisy within Griffith, where he needs actually someone like Guts in order to rattle him out of a lot of this madness.
Sure. Well, because one of the things that I'm
done ranting. For
I loved about this episode that and you were touching on it with the whole self-harm thing and all that. But when Griffith had that one important talk with Guts, and he talked about how he wants to see, you know, how far it can go and you know, be free and all that stuff, and how even kings sometimes aren't truly free because they're still beholden to their position, right?
Sure.
You know, because they are a king, so there's certain things that kings have to do, right? And it's kind of like this situation that basically Griffith is in, except in this case, it's something that he is putting on
self-imposed.
himself. It's self-imposed, and it's self-imposed not of where he is now, but where he wants to go. Right?
It's so messed up.
So it's because
it's not
doubly, triply so, and
it's not in recognition of reality. It's in recognition of a future state that could be reality, but it's not guaranteed. But in Griffith's mind, it's all guaranteed.
Right.
He believes it so much that it's guaranteed that this is literally the burdened with glorious purpose bull crap that Loki
except
like,
this is
mimics.
Right.
This is the actual
This is the
stuff.
actual burdened with glorious purpose, where he doesn't his dream doesn't serve him. He serves his dream. Right?
Oh, his dream owns him.
His dream owns him. It's so big and so just
it's
huge.
actually that's the thing. It's not that huge. Like when they talk about the massiveness of it, try not to use a dumb word here, wrong, like a word and use it wrong.
Yeah,
it's so selfish actually that he wants this dream, because the thing is, there's the state that he wants to change.
Yeah,
but he wants the initiator. He wants himself to be the one that makes the dream happen.
Right. Yes.
Which makes the dream actually extremely small. Now, here's where I want to bring something up. Has he ever mentioned who will make this dream a reality?
Sure, that's a good point, because
I remember a lot of I statements back when he was initially sharing these things with Guts.
And the other thing that he has talked about is the idea that I am making my dream a reality, but then other people are also helping me with my dream, but he considers that to, like, because when he was talking about the boy, one of the things that shook him up so much was the idea that he died for my dream. Like, did he consider this to be a good life? Was he, you know, when he died, was he happy?
But I think also that's another thing that he was kind of ruined about with this kid. This kid also had his own dream.
Yeah.
This kid had a dream of being a knight. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that Griffith, I think, is okay letting people who are just serving his dream die. Because in a way they've made that decision themselves. They know that, okay, you will then, you know how he mentioned in the fountain thing about dreams that are so strong they will take other people's dreams away, essentially.
That probably started here when he started thinking like that.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's the idea that he realized it wasn't just that someone was so devoted to his dream. That's probably one of the reasons why Casca, even though she doesn't hold like a super special place in his heart, she does hold a special place in his heart, because he probably realizes, no, her dream is completely to help me, you know, achieve my dream.
Yes.
But with this kid, he's like, oh no, I stole this kid's
dream. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And is it worth it? Is it worth that? It's not just the fact that people die, but the dreams that are crushed.
Right. And I think one of his rationales behind selling his body was that maybe he had a dream of something that he would,
like, how he would achieve his dream.
Dreams regarding how the path would look exactly. Mm-hmm. And he basically said, I'm going to sacrifice some of my other dreams in order to make my ultimate dream a reality. So he basically, like, here would be a great example of that. Mm-hmm. I really love Ultimate Frisbee. Let's say I was really passionate about cooking, but cooking is antithetical to the desire of Frisbee. So I'm like, I will no longer cook because I want to focus on Frisbee.
Sure.
Griffith is doing that with his ultimate dream, but the thing is that I think he's sacrificing his own person, and I think Casca is slowly becoming aware of this.
Gotcha.
And it's that Griffith will do anything to make his dream a reality, and I mean anything, even changing himself, even crafting himself, if you will, into being the perfect Griffith for like
Sure.
making this dream happen.
And I love
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of good in that.
Yep,
because
absolutely.
one of the things that you'll need if you're going after any kind of dream, like we'll just use me an ultimate frisbee, is I will need to train.
Yeah.
I will need to build my body in a specific way in order to be able to be good at frisbee.
Yep.
Like I can't just, start.
Right.
I have to
You
practice.
You
I have
couldn't
to do all
eat
these
pizza
other
every day.
Yeah.
And expect that to, get you into the peak shape for playing frisbee.
Right, and those kinds of things make sense. But once you get into the kind of things of like know your own sanity, you'll sacrifice some of your own morals. You'll sacrifice your own physical body to the point where you break down in a shameful mess.
Well, and
you sacrifice also like your connection with people. Eventually the list becomes too long, and
exactly the idea that with how long Griffith has been going after this, and the amount of people that are behind him on this, the amount of people that have probably died to help him, keep going. Eventually, does it get the point where you're sort of past the point of no return, where in order to make good on the investments that have been made, the additional cost starts to matter less and less.
Right, and that's where I think he's at. And unfortunately, I think the only thing right now the story is kind of funneling us down towards is that the only thing keeping Griffith, I would say right now, in a good place is the Band of the Hawk, Guts, and Casca. Now, Guts is somewhat of an anomaly to Griffith. Why? I don't know. Like, literally, I am in Casca's boat. I have no idea why he is so interested in Guts beyond the fact that Guts seems to have this, like, this will. Like, this really powerful will. And I think that that's something good. I think that Griffith sees that and goes, yes, your, like, drive, your will...
You're a survivor.
You're a survivor, yes. Yeah. He looks at that and goes, yes, I want to use you as, like, a template for where I want, like, my future kingdom to look like. I want people who will fight for their own dreams like you have for your own survival, you know. Like, that kind of thing, Griffith goes, that's good. But other than that, Guts is such a present-minded, like, you know, horse blinders on. He doesn't have any grand dream.
Right.
Like, why does Griffith look at Guts and go, you're more special to me in a lot of ways than any other person there? Is it literally just because he is a weapon? I think you're right. That could be along the lines of it, that he gets stuff done. Cool. But there's got to be more to it than that.
And don't you love it how they set up all these awesome things? Because if you were to, in a lesser story, if you were to see someone basically and see these things being brought up, you know, like the kind of stuff that's happening with Griffith or whatever, you'd be like, oh, red flags, you know, but the fact that they had him do that thing there of being like, the sacrifices that have been made for me, how can I, you know, the whole thing of how can I not make good on them? You know, how can I not do everything that I can to reduce that cost as much as possible, to, you know, all that stuff. It's like it makes you think, whereas in a lesser story they could just simplify it and be like, oh, and this guy turns into a Marvel villain, you know, like, or something stupid like that.
Well, that's another great thing to bring up, is that we mentioned this a while ago. I was like, Griffith sounds like Loki with the whole burden with glorious purpose thing. Like, when I think about Griffith more and more, and I think about the hypocrisy side of things, and I think about the foreshadowing, and I think about all the build-up, and I think about the Behelit, and I think about all these things, it really does feel like Griffith is one that's being built up as this very, very kind of Greek tragedy type character. Like, he seems to be the epitome of the Greek tragedy. So, like, to explain to viewers, you can help me out here. So the Greek tragedy is someone that goes after, you know, something, you know, with with all their might.
But because of some fatal flaw,
fate
they end up
usually
falling from grace, or, you know, whatever. They end up failing. Right. And a lot of the time, the failing, the tragedy aspect
is because of their own.
Right, and it's not so much the horrible thing that happened, so much as the amazing thing that could have happened but didn't, and it was so avoidable. You know.
Yes, the very avoidable tragedy that was because of usually the main character's blundering mistakes.
Right.
Or a single mistake. And sometimes it's such a small thing seemingly that it ends up having these grand consequences.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so
just poignant and awesome and like, oh, that sucks, you know.
I really think Griffith's is because of those three character flaws that it's mainly the one character flaw that he's selfish. But because of his selfishness, he has fallen into like horrendous shame. At least at that point. That was that was the lowest point we've ever seen him at. But the thing is that
that's not a place to make decisions.
No, but as another show of mine point out, when we hit our lowest point, we are open to the greatest change. But one of the things that I found is that being open to the greatest change is not always a good thing.
Sure.
Because one of the things that happens when you change, or when you're going to change, is you make a choice. And when choices are made in a very low state of mind, they don't have good long-lasting
and the
effects.
idea that anytime you make a decision of like, you know, because when you
about
hit those lowest points,
about yourself, like
right, exactly, about yourself, because that's usually what those decisions are about when you hit that low point.
Right.
And the same thing if you were like, you know, working with like metal, you're trying to forge a sword or something like that, right? You need to beat the metal until it gets to the point where it is able to bend, and then you can reshape it into some new shape. But then once that happens, it's now in a new shape. It will need to get beaten down and broken down in order to change from that shape again.
You have to reheat the metal all the way to its boiling, you know, to its heated up point and stuff. Otherwise, you won't be able to do anything with it.
Yeah.
So
making decisions in that state can be very bad, especially when you make them alone. Is the thing.
Now, his loneliness is another thing of this. I think that actually might be where Guts will find his in, essentially, for Griffith.
Gotcha.
Is that Griffith brought him along because he still felt alone.
Sure.
And he saw something in him that he was like, I'm going to test this kid. See if he's someone that I actually do resonate with. And then over the years, he's like, yeah, I actually do. I have a friend now.
Well, no, he doesn't.
With Guts?
Yeah.
No, I know. But what I'm mainly saying was that he filled for a little bit the loneliness void.
Sure.
But he didn't ever end up, you're right, becoming a true friend. Now, because of that, and because Guts now has all this context, there's a lot of responsibility, unfortunately, there always has been on Casca. And Casca bears this burden also with a lot of she understands her responsibility way more than Guts does to that extent.
But maybe now that she's explained this, maybe Guts will start to understand it.
Maybe Guts will start to understand, and I think that's where we could see some really cool miscommunications type conflict. Is the type of thing where Guts now has the context. He is armed with all the information to make some really powerful decisions in how he interacts and connects with Griffith and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is that Guts is a blunt instrument. Like, pun intended. Like, clang, clang, clang. He is
My love is like a truck. Yeah.
I don't think Guts is going to be able to steward this as effectively as someone even like Casca would. He definitely isn't going to be able to steward as much as Griffith would.
He might try.
Griffith has a charisma score of 20.
And Guts, that was his dump stat, you know?
Yeah, Guts did not put anything into charisma. His willpower score is really high, but his intellect score is also really low. Like it's not. So jokes aside, my point is that I want to see more interaction with Guts and Casca. A lot more. Like, I want them to now have, not necessarily like bonded and be best buddies after this, but to them feel the responsibility to guard Griffith from himself, to make sure that he goes after his dream, but he doesn't sacrifice too much of himself along the way.
Right.
Now, the thing is, to Griffith, being protective of Griffith
from his dream
could be seen as being antagonistic towards him and his dream.
Or at least it potentially could concretely be antagonistic towards his dream, you know, in a sense, because, you know, they would be saying, hey, you keep priorities straight, man, you know.
Right. That's the thing. When you see these people that are like protagonists, they go after this dream. I'm reminded a lot of Roy Mustang. Roy Mustang from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is a great example of someone who's like Griffith and has a really powerful dream. He says, I will be the Führer of this country. And in your mind, the story is trying to tell you that's dangerous. That's a dangerous dream. Because
and they don't go into it as much because he's not as much of like the main character.
Well, no, but he is very much a main character. And the story, you know, calls the main character a Führer because they want you to realize that the power itself is something that can be used and almost has a tendency to be used towards something not good. Now, what does Mustang surround himself with in that show? People that will watch out for him and cover his weaknesses. And Riza Hawkeye is a great example of that. Griffith does not have a Riza Hawkeye. He needs someone right there alongside him. But you know what? If Guts and Casca end up becoming even just a slight percentage of that,
they both, you know, they're like, hey, you can be half of a Hawkeye and I'll be the other half of a Hawkeye.
They each be a quarter of a Hawkeye.
A quarter of a Hawkeye.
Let's not sell Hawkeye short. So if they can do that much, I think Griffith actually has a lot of hope. Now, I've been talking a lot of doom and gloom about how Griffith is, you know, Griffith has a lot of like problems and stuff. But I think Griffith could absolutely find some measure of like he could be restored.
Oh yeah.
In a very slow manner.
Right.
But the main thing he would need to have happen is he would need to accomplish his dream and realize the futility of a lot of the other aspects of his dream.
Right. Realize that maybe his dream isn't as big a deal or as important as he thought it was.
Or even as possible. So he will become king, I predict. Here's my prediction. He will become king. Guts and Casca will have tried a lot to help him and stuff. He won't really have listened as much to them because they're still they still haven't found their dream, so he can't see them as equals.
Sure, yeah. He doesn't really listen to what they have to say because...
Yeah. He will try to enact some of his dream as king, and he'll find he is beset by all kinds of other problems that distract him from his dream.
Sure, the idea that he becomes king, but it's like, oh no, that was the easy part. Like,
yes. Then this whole thing with the river will repeat itself. He will come back to this low point, and he will make a choice. Now the question is, will Guts and Casca like be able to actually help him when he hits this low point again, or not? And if they're there, if they're able to help him, like if they're actually like in the
physically
right
present?
No, just in the right like frame of mind.
Oh, gotcha.
Like if they're actually like, I mean, well, there's one aspect. He's going to be king, so he's not going to have like anyone near him anyway. But like say Casca is brought on as like
his
a
main bodyguard.
Yeah. He could bounce ideas off her. But if she's not able to recognize the kind of things he's asking her, or say Guts is the leader of his royal guard and Casca is like the other, you know, they're both leaders.
Left
whatever.
and right flank
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I see them flanking him left and right anyway when he gets, you know, eventually crowned. They might have some kind of a miscommunication. If there is no miscommunication, I think we're good. The problem is I don't think this is that type of show. I think this is the type of show where we're going to have some serious miscommunications coming up.
And things just go really bad.
And things are just going to go really badly. I don't know why actually Guts is going to be sent away, but it hurts now seeing Griffith in this state because you realize how much of this is his own fault. And I feel empathy for him.
Yeah.
But I actually don't feel as much sympathy, if that makes sense. Like I don't. I'm trying to explain. I don't think that actually sounds
the
right.
idea of
like,
sort of, you know, sort of your
my heart goes out for him,
but you don't understand what he's like.
There's things about him that are so hypocritical,
where
that
there's
are so
just a
broken
disconnect
internally.
Where you're like, I can't really meet you in that place.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's excellent work. Hey, you would be great at solving the communication issue between Casca and Griffith. Oh boy! But this show, holy crap! We didn't even go into the whole thing of like the whole dynamic of Casca's character, which is now extremely more complex.
And
think
about when this show came out and when the original material would have come out.
Yeah, that gets me hyped to get into the original material.
Like the idea, because like for some reason, only recently I would say have we really started to get like popularized good female characters in
the last like 15 years
like not that there weren't
like
before that
has been a journey towards that,
right? And
we've seen the beginnings of it even before 15 years ago,
right? But most of the time they like kind of went under the radar and stuff and were more of the exception.
It wasn't mainstream.
It
wasn't mainstream.
Right.
We've now seen the breaking into mainstream, and people are still figuring out how to do it in mainstream. Well, but the thing is that the numbers don't lie. It's now
getting better.
It's now become more of a mainstream thing, and those that are in the mainstream are doing it better.
But just like how ahead of its time, like this story is as far as making a well-rounded, full human female character.
Hey, you brought up actually something in a recent thing about talking how it peeved you when female characters with tragic backstories were basically relegated to just having been sexually assaulted, and they had no depth actually given to their character.
Where that was
Casca is basically an example of that done right.
Exactly, because they
came so close to going into that.
They treated it as a real issue that it is, and they set it up in a situation where that was a thing, right?
Right, but they respected Casca's character enough to not relegate her to just she had the most tragic backstory ever.
Exactly.
And that's it.
The sexual assault was a very small sliver. It was maybe the part of catalyst.
It was an extremely dark aspect of it, but it is not the.
But that is not it.
It is not the whole pie.
Right. They spent 90% of the time talking about all the decisions that she made and how she felt and things like that.
The powerlessness that she felt leading up to that.
Exactly. Only a small percentage was about the actual assault.
What Griffith said to her, how she responded to that. The mental state that she essentially took upon herself in order to be ready for the craziness that the world would throw at her because she'd made this choice instead of basically all the other choices that she could have made. That's a really good point. We would need to analyze it a little bit more with like context in the future. But the fact that she chose this when he said, choose whatever you want. There is an argument to be made that Griffith might have deduced. Actually, no. There's no way that we could make that argument. I was trying to say that Griffith maybe planned that she would join them. There's no way. Yeah, because I think in a way him saying do whatever you want is him echoing his dream about himself to someone else.
And maybe
projecting,
and maybe what you could see that as being there is that he's basically sending out the chance for someone else to basically go after a dream that they want, even though it might seem completely impossible for them at the time.
Right, but I mean, in terms of survival, if she just ran away off on her own, she had like little to no hope of surviving more than a year.
Yep. She probably would have ended up dead or
dead in a ditch somewhere.
Right.
Like she maybe should have found her family. She could have found her family again.
Sure.
I think if we thought about this realistically, her being a kid going through this traumatic thing, we don't know how far away she was. But I think it's kind of like a dog lost from its home. It doesn't know anything about the wilderness and stuff. Most dogs will eventually make their way back home, and she's a kid. She has memories with their family. She loves her family, even though they were forced to give her up in a lot of ways.
Here's the other thing: depending on how far away they were and how far she had gone from her home as a kid, like how easy of a time would she have had? I think she could
do it. I think Casca probably at that age was probably smart enough to be able to figure it out.
And in that best case scenario where she goes back to her family,
they might not.
Well, no, in the best case scenario, they take her back in, and she goes back to her old life. Of her village constantly getting raided. Maybe
6 months later she's dead with the rest of her family. Who knows?
Or maybe they end up realizing again later, we have to give you up because we can't feed you, 2 years later or something like that. And, there's no Griffith that time or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Fantastic stuff. I'm gonna have to edit out a little bit more of the NSFW stuff, but wow,
yeah, great episode, right?
Incredible episode. I think that as an episode, it's not actually that it's that good, like in and of itself,
from the standpoint of like as an episode,
like as far as like show episodes go. Like, you notice that they did this really interesting thing with color, and that they kind of faded out a lot of things. The most attention given to scene was the bit with the little river lake, the bit with Griffith there, like the animation on his hair, the music, like all the things going on there were very high quality. But in the flashback stuff, it seemed like they gave it this
kind of muted look,
maybe to show that it is backstory and stuff. Like, they gave attention to a lot of the character animation with Guts and Casca by the tree and stuff.
And all the times they showed up, like the close-up of Casca's face when she's talking to Guts, it was like,
that's good
very
stuff.
detailed and awesome.
But in this story of Berserk, it's one of, if not the most important episode we've seen thus far. Like, it's one of the it's crazy. So I hope that weight and importance is carried over into like the rest of the show. But I really hope that on some level Griffith finds like some redemption. He's not going to end up being like,
or maybe like peace.
Well, yeah, not necessarily peace even, but like I don't see him going into White Knight territory or like whatever is at the opposite end of the spectrum. But I want him to remain this very complex, like, gray character where things in what he chooses to do end up driving him more and more into a corner, into making decisions that are not good. But the thing is that the show Berserk builds it up to be that Griffith is the Greek tragedy character. He is the protagonist that could have been, you know.
And can you imagine though how unbelievably boring that would have been for a character like Griffith, who is the, White Knight or whatever, if they didn't have this whole thing with his character, this contradiction?
It's crazy.
That would be bland and lame.
I know maybe some people won't like this as much, just because it essentially is a spoiler, that the first episode exists.
Oh, yeah.
Because the first episode exists, you know that at the very least Griffith and Guts will be antagonistic towards each other.
Right.
But they didn't tell you who was right.
Yep, they didn't tell you how it works.
They didn't tell you really anything of whether or not one was a good guy or a bad guy. If anything, they seem like they both made mistakes. That's usually how those kinds of things work. It feels like a very Game of Thrones thing. There's no protagonist in this universe. There's just a bunch of people that want things, and some people want things a lot and will do really stupid things in order to get the things that they want. So, yeah. Wow. Yeah. This was probably the longest discussion we've had in a Berserk episode. Were you expecting this? Like,
kind of, not necessarily, but okay. Because one of the things that I've really enjoyed about rewatching this show, because when I first watched this show, I binged it, right?
Okay.
Because I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. But because I binged it, I didn't pick up on and granted, it was my first time watching, and I didn't have someone to verbally process things with. I feel like I missed on a lot of the details and the subtlety of the things that they did in the show.
How free do you feel to be able to talk about some of those because you know about the context of the future?
Pretty free, because
you can separate and localize them.
I can separate really well, and the thing is, with the first episode, they did a really good job of basically saying, hey, here are the themes we're going to be working with and stuff. So that it's not so much, it's not it's not like the whole twist factor of like, oh, what's going to happen? Right. It's the idea of how is it going to happen, and what is it going to look like exactly?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that makes it way easier to discuss, because it's pretty much on board with, the same thing of we're talking about the same stuff.
Right.
But
you don't feel worried too much about affirming or like confirming or not affirming the things that I'm moving towards.
No, one of the things that I'm realizing more and more as we watch this show is just how well it basically puts in all those subtle things to basically seed the right thoughts, but not like go too like
specific.
Yeah. So that you can wonder about these things, and you know the kinds of things that you are supposed to be wondering about.
Cool.
But not being like, hey, here's exactly what's going to happen. You know.
Yeah. Some shows do that. Yeah. This one doesn't. Whew. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, if you want to watch the next episode's reaction right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon.
Yep.
You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us about stories or whatever. And if that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.